Hey everyone, it's Madeleine from Woman Fully Alive podcast. This is a podcast episode. And yes, I just came back from a run. And yes, I haven't even put on my makeup today. But if you're here listening, there's something that you're here to receive. And think about it. Why can't this be a podcast? So I just came back from a run and I don't even have time to shower before I want to get this out. Lioness Rising, the course just began yesterday or this week. It's magical. It's absolutely magical. The template that is right there at the surface of a woman's body, waiting to be seen, waiting to be articulated into the world. And the lionesses that are in the group, they're like, bingo, bingo. One woman said, this is the missing link. This is what nobody has pointed out in all the years of healing. So if you think about the word healing, health, holy, whole, that is what we are doing. We're igniting the part of the divine feminine path that is largely being obscured on this planet. And so when we think about, often when we think about feminine rising or this energy, we might visualize like white, flowy in a field, wind blowing in her hair, and it's beautiful and it's flowing and it's airy. Those are part of the elements, the air, and the water, the flow, but we've missed two, and we're all made up of these elements, right? We've missed the fire and the earth. And actually that structural, that sharp, concise container of the other half that's embodied in our nervous system, whole. So to articulate this, we can think about in Lioness Rising, we are creating the glass, the container that will hold the water. So the well. And the origins, think about the word well. Well-being, wellness, and wealth. So in ancient Celtic traditions and many other traditions, the well was seen as the holy place, the spring. And why? Because there was an underground well that when it reached, it broke through the earth's crust to flow. So Lioness Rising is really about creating that container that can hold the flow, the divine feminine flowy white dress. But when that is not contained and it's airy and flowing and watery, it doesn't have a structure to hold it. So, you think about wealth and how many stories we hear of people that win $1 million, win a lottery. And yet it's gone in the next month and the next year because there wasn't a container to hold it. So if you are a woman that has all of those beautiful qualities of sensitivity, you're an empath, you're flowy, you just love, the water and the flow, yet you're not breaking through the surface and creating the structure, call it boundaries if you like, call it your territory, call it your power, your energy, your presence. If you haven't created that, it's just going to flow out into the world without nourishing your own well. Your own wealth runs dry. And so yesterday what we practiced was something that I call womb walking. So we put our hands on our hips And we walk from our power center, the middle where gravity holds us, the anchor of our womb, rather than walking with our head forward, right, going into a room with that energy of, well, I mean, it can be excitement, but it can also be anxiety or people pleasing, surveying. No, we step back into our back body and we walk with the power of a lioness, just exactly the way that a lioness walks through the Sahara. So that if somebody comes into your territory, you might pause and you're not worried because you're still powerful, you're centered, you're grounded, you're anchored in your womb. Because the womb is the watery center of you, held by your structure. This is very, very powerful. And if you think about, where you are not nourishing your own well, check out your own umbilical cord from your womb. Who are you still attached to that is depleting your center? Who is basically draining your well? And where do you attach your umbilical cord to? To yourself? And where do you want to receive the nourishment in your own body? So without this container, the glass that holds the water, we're just basically going to be a puddle. Nothing wrong with a puddle. So my personality, I think it could be conditioning. I love the airy. I love the flow, emotional work, just getting in there and flowing and feeling in flow, airy. But that without anywhere to kind of coagulate or turn into some kind of river, some kind of source, is just dissipated and evaporates out there. And that's true of relationships, it's true of wealth, of well-being. And this is where I find women becoming burned out, as I did, because my well was just like overflowing to everybody else. My umbilical cord was going out that way rather than like feeling the nourishment inside myself. But when you start to nourish your own spring and hold it in a sacred container of structural energy, the glass, the sharp, diamond cutting, razor hard yet malleable container, you become a force of power for good. And it's really, the women in leadership roles in this world, and any woman can be a leader of their own life, their own body, how they think. There's a lot of choice there within the container, but needs to have some kind of holding tank for it to coagulate in first, before the spring can break through into the form of the world. And this is the connection between the unseen world inside of us and the seen world, our creations in the world, our relationships, our gifts, our products, our offerings to the world, our pieces of art that we're creating. So I really had to go back to that container, and a lot of the women that I meet, they're back in the container, having to create the container out of sheer necessity, of burnout, of pain, of illness, where all the walls have broken down and they're just dissipating, evaporating into the world. And it requires a coagulation, once again, of you in your body, in your structure, and in the world. Because isn't that the energy that we see, that perhaps you admire, that you see in the world, that we're all craving? We're craving that part of ourselves that can just walk with power, walk with presence on this earth, on this planet Earth. And this is really divine feminine magic. And I call it magic because we can transform ourselves energetically in our bodies so that miracles and magic start to happen in our lives. I've always loved magic. And I loved The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It was just magical to me that you could step into a cupboard, into a different world, and it really spoke to me. And it's not until now that I realized that magic also needs a structure. So today, what I invite you to do is to ground yourself into your body, into your feet, into that center, that power center of creativity, where you began, where your mother began, where you began in your mother, where you spent time in your grandmother's womb as an egg inside your mother who was a fetus. That is the core. And that is your essence. This is what I see in the women that I meet every day. I see them in their gardens. I see them in the shops. I see them as a sales clerk. And I know that just behind there is a lioness in each and every one of us. And perhaps we haven't been told. Perhaps we haven't realized or seen that in our mothers or in our grandmothers. Simply, is it them or is it conditioning? I'll let you answer that question. So Lioness Rising really is this filling up of the well inside of our own body so that naturally it becomes a voice, naturally it becomes a roar, naturally it becomes a territory, naturally it becomes the lioness surveying her territory. So that you no longer have to explain, defend, rationalize what you're doing, try to make other people happy all the time. No, that's draining from your umbilical cord. That's not nourishing you. Because you know what I'm seeing is that when women walk with power, they claim their space, they own their body as best as they can, given whatever your circumstances are. Respect your need to defend and protect. But when they walk through their life like they own their life, because you are your own life and your space, magic starts to happen. You no longer have to articulate your boundaries. It's just a given. And when people invade your space that you find draining, they're naturally going to start dropping away because they won't be able to feed from your source, from your well anymore. Right? That tributary, that stream will be cut off. It will be dry. And it comes to the place where things start changing around you without you having to control them or manipulate them or get people to do certain things or see things a certain way in order for you to be okay. Because life is just life, and life on the Serengeti continues on as life. And the lioness walks and prowls, protects, loves, plays, rolls, hunts. And she doesn't control the other animals. Why would she? So I'll leave you with that thought today around wellness and the well of wealth within you. And creating that glass that can hold all that beautiful flow so that you nourish yourself, you fill up your glass, and then you feed as needed to the world. And just picture and imagine if this was the wealth in the world. And I'm not talking about the 2% of billionaires that own most of the world's wealth. I'm talking about a different kind of wealth. I'm talking about feminine wealth. The overflowing of the spring inside of you. Picture that. All right. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a really important and powerful podcast today. I hope you will, make sure to follow me, subscribe on YouTube is probably the best place, or subscribe to my email list at mindfullivingnow.com, where I'll send you all the updates when the next Lioness Rising starts. And this is the magic and the wealth and the well that we're bringing into the world. It's powerful. Be a lioness today. Walk like a lioness. Claim your space. Bye for now.